Dearly beloved, we have gathered here today to get through this thing called Mix CD. My name is Mike, part of the SPDM crew, and I love making Mix CDs. Each week, we give our guests a theme and an 80-minute time limit for which songs they're going to pick for their Mix CD. Let it rip. All right.
Drop
This
that
week,
needle.
skip that CD, hit download on the Napster file.
Turn the tape over and hit play.
Oh, tape. Quick story about tape, actually. So we found a bunch of cassette tapes at my mom's old house,
Sure.
and my oldest daughter was like, "What is this?" And
They look weird,
she put it to
right?
her ear. It was like, "I can't hear anything. What is this?" And I was like, oh, you don't know.
Right.
You know, that was how we used to that's how we used to listen to music back in the day. And she slid in, "You mean back in the ancient days?" I'm like, "Okay, we're done talking
Yep.
right now."
That'll be enough of that.
Yep, that's that. But anyways,
Well, hey, if she's old enough to be watching reels, you can explain the tape reels and where that comes from, and she can get an ancient historical perspective.
that's assuming that she wants to know the origins of some of those things.
Yeah. Well,
Sometimes she really doesn't, and
yeah.
I'm explaining things and then I see that she's like not even paying attention to me. It's like, great,
Yep.
great, great, great. So yeah, okay. So this week we're going to be starting our series on my musical journey. And this is where I'm going to be talking with musicians and people who play music or
Mhm.
people who like really, really like music and just talk about their musical influences and just what's kind of driven them from a music standpoint and, big significant moments in their life involving music. So I have for my first outing with this friend of the pod, friend of the show, friend of the network. Still hasn't made that OnlyFans that I told him to make a long time ago, but he's still not taking me up on that, that suggestion. Oh, the shepherd of the BTB movie club, the half of the 15 years later's crew. I've got Tim Larsen here. Tim, how's it going?
Great. Happy to be here. This is my first time on this podcast. And so sharing music and talking about music is going to be a fun thing for me. So I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here and I'm ready to roll whenever you are. By the way, the OnlyFans thing, I do have an email into my agent about that, and I've been waiting to hear back.
Okay, so at least it's progressing forward. So that's
Sure.
comforting to know, at least.
Kind of like
By
pushing a boulder up a hill. Yeah.
sure, sure. Yeah. Okay, cool. Good to know. So, Tim, I asked you to do this because you play music. You're in a
I do.
band. So, why don't we start at the beginning with that first before we even get into the playlist? So,
Ooh.
let's start with this. How long you been playing music? What do you play? And what kind of ultimately drove you to want to play music?
Wow, that could take a little while. So
That's fine.
I
I
will
got
tell you
time.
in my grandmother's house in Detroit. I'm from Dearborn, Michigan. My parents grew up in Detroit. My grandmother had an electric organ in the hallway in her house, and it had headphones on it. And she said you can play it anytime you want, even though I had no idea how to play that thing, as long as you put the headphones on. That was the rule. Like she didn't want to hear little kids just making terrible music. And thinking about it, I never saw her play that thing once, but it was there and it was something fun to play with. So my mother also had one, and it was in the furthest room away from people. Like there was a family room, and on the opposite side of the house, there was a room, and it was in there. So I really liked hacking away at that thing because it was the only instrument available, and it was kind of like a puzzle for me
Hmm.
to figure out how stuff worked. Then years later, I get an electric keyboard when I'm 13 and I start figuring some music theory stuff out. I've never had a lesson. I can't read music. I'm not one of those
Ooh.
guys.
Self-taught, and
Yes.
you're one could call you a prodigy when it comes to
Yes.
music.
Or a hack. One or the other.
Tomato,
I lean
tomato.
towards hack. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Uh, but here's the thing. To be a good musician, and I would consider myself a professional musician because I'm on stage a lot. and I've played in a lot of places all around the Midwest. Play with other people because by yourself you learn a lot of things, but until you get in a room with other musicians and they start doing things that blow your mind and you go, "What the hell was that? I got to figure that out." The puzzle becomes much larger and much more fun.
Mm.
And so just in running into other people and playing, I think that I've learned an awful lot from an awful lot of people. So I play piano and I sing in a band called the Bear Hambones, and that's bear as in, Bare, not the animal. Named because when we made the band, we didn't have any electricity in the band. There wasn't an electric guitar or anything like that. So I'm a piano player, I'm a singer. I have been getting on stage since 1991, and we are still presently looking forward to playing in August. We're going to play Elburn Days Festival coming up, August 17th. So, been at it for a long time. One really fun story, I have booked the band, even though we're out here in west of Chicago, the western suburbs. I have booked a show in a bar in Detroit, which is the very first stage I ever played on. So
Nice.
on October 25th, 2025, I'm taking the whole crew back and inviting all my family and friends from Michigan to come out and see us at a place called the Old Miami. Same owner as back in the day. I'm going to play on the same stage, which was the first stage I ever played on in 1991. So that's kind of a cool thing coming up. Full circle moment.
That is awesome. That's take me back to that first time playing on that stage. So, how long ago was that? Was it with the same band? And what's obviously this is going to sound like a stupid question, but just kind of hear me out on this. What's different between now and then? Like what's been the thing that you've learned the most or changed the most or something that you've learned about yourself since then that has just struck a chord? Music struck a chord.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nicely done.
it did.
Nicely done. I'm going to
Best.
mark that down, though, as a demerit. So that's my first attempt with a band, with a group of people. And I did not play a keyboard or a piano in that band. I was a front man and I thought I was perfect. I was listening to Guns N' Roses at the time and the hair bands of the day and just ready to tear up the stage and be an outstanding rock star. And I wasn't, but I didn't know that. I just thought everything was awesome.
Mhm.
Like look at us, we're awesome. I don't get why you guys don't get this. Very young, very naive, and stupid. And nowadays, I get on stage and I'm looking at the crowd before we even get on stage, and I'm always nervous. How many people are going to be here? Are they going to enjoy it? Like, is the guy who booked us going to be comfortable enough with how many people came in here to invite us back? I'm more about the what would you just say, like the professionalism of us being a band
The
than I ever
business,
was
the
back in the day.
yeah,
Yeah, the business
the
side of it.
business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I at the time I considered myself a, not discovered giant rock star. Presently, I consider myself an entertainer, who I would love to play bigger venues, but we play the ones that we have right now, and we just keep chipping away at it. And the the biggest thing is it's fun. Like the five guys we play together with, they were here last night for practice. We really enjoy being around each other. So if you
That
have that, everything else is easy.
I hear that is helpful if a band
Yeah,
likes each other because we hear plenty of stories about bands that don't like each other and then
right,
they don't last very long.
right,
So
right.
that's good. That's definitely a plus. So keep you talked about before how the keyboard was a part of it was circumstance because
Hmm.
it was there. Have you ever had a desire to play any other instruments? Well, I guess other than your voice, I suppose.
Sure, sure. I have a guitar, and I started trying to teach myself the guitar, and it went okay. And I just kind of never it. I put it down at one point, and it took a long time before I went back to it. It just didn't take off for me for whatever reason. I do enjoy playing the drums. I'm not very good at it, but since practice is at my house and everybody goes home every now and then, I do like to sit behind the drum kit and see if I can keep time. And I can barely keep time. It's not that good, but it's fun though. So I
Mhm.
enjoy doing that. I can't imagine myself ever being the drummer, even for one song, much less, for a group of people. But I do enjoy other instruments, but piano is just what I started with, and it's like breathing for me at this point. I couldn't do this earlier when I was teaching myself music or just kind of going through and uncovering the puzzle, so to speak. But at this point, if I hear something on the TV, like in a commercial, and I like it, I can go sit down the piano and within a couple seconds start playing it. And that's pretty fun. There's no way I could do that with a guitar or any other instrument.
What's your favorite part about being a musician?
Ooh, I'm going to give you three things. I
That's
would be
fine.
lying if I didn't say when the band finishes a song and there's a really good live crowd who's into it and they cheer really loud at the end of one of your songs like that you wrote. That's really fun. A real close second to that is when all five guys in the band know that we just played the shit out of that song. Whether it's
Mhm,
at practice or on stage, you can tell when you're all locked in,
mhm.
and you can tell when something's a little off or when somebody made a mistake and you cover for them. But when you know that everybody's on the exact same page and lands everything at the exact same time, it's a great feeling. I would guess in baseball, a like a second baseman and shortstop turning the perfect double play is a similar thing. Like they both have to do it perfectly for it to work right, and the first baseman a little bit, but it's kind of like that. Like we all have to do our part perfectly, and you have to sort of like you can't get too loud with what you're doing because you have to fit in with the other four guys. So all of us sharing that space musically at the same time and doing it right is an amazing feeling. And then the third one I'll give you is songwriting. When something comes together and you're like, "Hey, I think I like that," and then the other guys like it and you get to put together and create something that nobody's ever created before and it feels good. That's a pretty fun thing too.
I can imagine. Yeah, that sounds. Knowing what I know about you, that does sound right up your alley.
Yeah.
Just that whole thing about creating something and knowing that this wasn't here a little while ago and now it is, and
Hmm.
then you get to share that with the world. That's
Yeah.
that does sound very much like you. So you've been playing music for a long time, and as you've aged, as you've shifted focus in terms of what you're doing professionally, how is it that you've continued to maintain your love of music as you've progressed through your life?
Oh, well, that's a good question, but I don't know if I can answer it. I think that's not up to me. Whatever is the engineering behind my brain and my emotions, I've always really enjoyed having music around me or, as I learned how to perform it, performing it. But I am drawn to music. Like some people are drawn to being an artist and drawing or reading books or, people have passions that are hobbies. I am drawn to music for sure.
Is there anything about music that you kind of struggle with a little?
Yeah, I'm not as talented as I'd like to be. I've learned a lot, but I can't just I'm not a virtuoso by any means. Like I said, I'm a hack. So sometimes trying to figure out a song or trying to write a song, I'll be in the middle of trying to play it and it will frustrate me because I'm not sure exactly what to do next. But that's the good thing about being in a band is somebody else does.
Mm.
And so being a productive member of a group like that sometimes is, hey, here's an idea, follow me. And sometimes it is, hey, what are you doing over there? Let me follow you. And that sort of give and take, I think, is a real healthy part of being in a group like that.
Listen, as a prodigy like you should know that none of us are ever going to be perfect. None of us
Yeah,
are going to, know everything about music. And also, I think for a musician, music's like one of those things that it's never going to be done. There's always going to be
right.
different forms of music that's out there. And I guess that's a good segue into talking about your list a little bit as well, is that what type of music do you typically like to listen to that has kind of like influenced the way that you write songs or just what you really like about music in general?
Well, as we'll find out going through this conversation today, I'm looking at your list, and I think you have just about every genre covered you possibly could, and you might even made one up. I'm pretty diverse in the things that I like. There's only a few things that I don't like, but I'll tell you a common theme is something that's got some kind of soul to it. If it's dance music that doesn't really go anywhere and it's very repetitive, I get turned off by that. I like to have something that carries some emotion with it. And so some of the straight up hip hop stuff that was really like I guess a little earlier hip hop that was really just all lyrics and there was never really a refrain or a chorus or anything like that. I would get tired of that even though I liked the some of the earliest hip hop stuff. A lot of modern country music, it seems very repetitive to me. even though they have really good, like hooks and choruses. Some of the verses are just kind of snoozers for me, so I get turned off on that as well. I'm from Detroit. I love Motown stuff. It's not my favorite genre, but because of that, I really do enjoy emotion and feeling that comes across in a song.
That's interesting. News to me, you don't like Motown music, which that's shocking as a
Now,
Detroit
wait a
person.
second. I said it's not my favorite genre.
Oh, he hasn't figured it out yet. That's fine. That will be the only time that I mute you
And the
for
unmute
now.
button moved on me when I went to click it. Yeah, I did. I said it's not my favorite genre. I didn't say I don't like it. I do like Motown.
Yeah. You mentioned about modern country music. I would even kick the country out and just say modern music in general, is that a bunch of it seems very repetitive.
Yeah.
And, I was talking about this with someone recently because it's not just, the music, but also it's how we consume music as well. So
Yeah.
let me ask you this. What's the typical way that you get your music today? Are you somebody who usually makes like playlist and you're just kind of going through cycling what you typically like, or are you trying to diversify yourself a little bit more and trying to listen to new shit?
My answer is going to be embarrassing. I really should be listening to channels with random music on all the time. That's what I should be listening to. And I don't. I get stuck in my own playlists that I've made and I listen to them, like a Apple Music playlist. When I'm in my wife's car, we get on Sirius radio and we go from channel to channel. And I always enjoy that because I'm going to hear something that I don't normally hear. But I am terrible about I used to love listening to the radio and hear something new coming out, and the radio's not the number one delivery method anymore.
No,
So
neither is MTV either. So
yeah, those are kind of gone. That's how a lot of this stuff goes. So I'm not as good at going out and finding new music as I used to be. I do have friends who send me songs all the time. So that's kind of cool because they know I'm a musician. They like music. I'm thinking of three or four of them right now that frequently just send me text messages, and so that's how I get some newer stuff nowadays.
I was talking about this with someone recently about because they asked what is the number one way that you discover new music, and as embarrassing as it was to admit, I just flat out said it. TikTok. TikTok is the way
Yeah,
that I get new
that
music.
helps.
Now,
Yep,
it
that's
doesn't
not a
because
terrible.
it kind of is because TikTok gives me shit music that I like, but it's also
I got a
it's
song on TikTok.
there we go. That's all good.
I don't know if that helps the sentence you're in the middle of or not, but go ahead.
No, no, it doesn't, but that's okay. It all works out at the end, right? So I'm taking a look at your list. Walk me through kind of like what was it about your process in terms of putting this list together? Was it agonizing? Were you just like, oh, I know exactly which ones I want to pick? Just walk me through your process.
So you and I talked about doing this, and I know you've done these podcasts with some other people and had different themes.
Mm.
My cousin Brian was on here from Beelar from the what's the
Comics Corner.
Comics Corner,
I'll
Comics
edit that
Corner.
part out so that it makes you sound like you know exactly what his podcast name is.
No, you won't. It's fine.
I will.
Um,
It's all good. I got your back. No worries.
so when my cousin Brian from Comics Corner was on the podcast, I know you guys did songs from movies or superhero movies or something like that,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So you and I were talking about doing this, and we're in a movie club, the BTB movie club, and I was thinking of a particular scene from High Fidelity with John Cusack, where they have all the top five lists and stuff, where he's stacking all of his vinyl albums and he's reorganizing them, and the dweeb guy comes in, maybe David, I think the character's name is, and he says, "These aren't." They're not alphabetical. And he says, no. And he says, they're not something else. And then he says, they're autobiographical.
I
So he was
remember
putting them
that
in the
now.
order that, he remembered music or he got them. And I think that influenced me when we were talking about this. So my list is 11 songs that get me from early childhood to a major life event where I moved from Michigan and came out here to Illinois and started my teaching career. So I reflected on my life and the music that kind of went through it. So it's kind of like a soundtrack of the first half of my life.
I'm kind of in a similar boat as you because the for just peek behind the curtain. So Tim sent me this list a while ago. I'm
Yes.
taking a look. You sent me this list back beginning of June. So we've been talking about doing this for a while now.
Hmm.
And on top of that, I have been pushing off putting together my list because I know that this was going to be a bit of a daunting task because as somebody who wants to make sure that they get everything right, I want to
Yeah.
make sure that I've got FOMO really bad.
I
I want
crossed
to
a
make
lot of songs off. I
I
did. I agonized over this. You got me right. I agonized.
So my original list that I sent to Tim a couple days ago upon recording this has like 50 songs. It's like
It
3
does.
hours, which is strange because as somebody who sets the rules for this podcast, an hour and 20-minute long playlist, mixed CD length,
Yeah.
I broke cardinal rule number one.
Yeah, you
And
did.
I'm not proud of it, but I did reshuffle things around and I kind of went similar route as you, autobiographical,
Yeah.
until this pretty much gets me from the 85, which is the year I was born, until 2000. So and this is an agonizing list to put together because
Right.
there's so much here I know I'm leaving on the table, but eventually I know I just have to be okay with it.
Right.
That's the tricky thing
Right.
about this. Any songs in particular that were cut that just you couldn't fit for time, or you just were like, I don't think it flows well with this. Anything that you want to shout out as an honorable mention, or anything that was like, oh, I don't like that I left this off, but there's a reason why, or maybe
Purple
no
Rain
reason
is
why.
not on here, and Purple Rain should be on here. But I have to limit myself with Prince because I'm a big Prince fan. And then I got to the one hit wonders of the 80s, and I
Mhm.
decided to just choose one of them. I probably had 15 of them written down, and it was kind of tough to
Mhm.
land on one. But we'll get to the reasons why those themes even came up in my list, much less which song.
Nice. Okay. So let's get to our list then.
Yeah,
And
let's
since
go.
you've got 11 songs on your list, I've got 21 on mine, which I don't know how that happened. You must have longer songs, or you were just much more picky about yours? I don't know, but
Yeah.
I tried
I
to maximize my hour and 20 minutes to the best of my ability.
Yeah, and no, and it's now you gave me 3 hours and 20 minutes of music to listen to.
Mm,
And as we talked about before we got in here, I listened to all of it today. And I really enjoyed the absolute rainbow of diversity going on here. There are genre after genre after genre in here. And so we'll get to a lot of these, I think, that in volume two
yeah.
or the second side of the cassette tape here, however we want to title this thing.
Hmm.
But I enjoyed all of it. I took a nice long bike ride today and put in the AirPods, and I had fun with music today. So
There it's interesting because when somebody asks me like what type of music do you like, I will give most music a
yeah,
shot. There's some music out there that I'm trying not to say I don't like a particular one. I'm trying to like reframe myself a little bit and just
yeah.
say I just haven't found my entry point yet. So like for example, I did this a couple weeks ago. I haven't found my Pearl Jam entry point yet. I
Oh,
haven't
interesting.
I haven't, and that feels strange as somebody from Chicago that I'm not a
Hmm.
huge Pearl Jam fan. I'm
Yeah,
not a huge Smashing Pumpkins fan
yeah,
either. So I just haven't found the thing that has just hooked me in because I think for the most part, most artists have a diverse enough catalog of music that you got to find at least one or two
yeah,
in
yeah.
there that you may enjoy. Except for me, Dave Matthews. I can't do Dave Matthews Band.
Same.
And that's mainly because of my stoner fraternity brothers who just listen to Dave Matthews on repeat,
Hmm.
and they're like, "This is the greatest thing ever!" Like Dave Matthews is the Donnie Darko of music for me. It's like this is the greatest thing ever, and then I listen to it. I'm like, it's fine, I guess. It's not for me, but I'm glad it's for you. So good for
Well,
you, man.
I'm on the same team, so I'm going to help you out there with a music analogy. There are several different kinds of jazz, and people are very hit or miss on jazz. And I love big band jazz. I think that's a really fun, entertaining thing to listen to. What I don't like is slower jazz where musicians just decide to solo for what seems like 5 hours with no direction whatsoever. And I get a lot of that in Dave Matthews' music. The musicianship is outstanding. I just don't want to hear it. That's I'm like that
I
with jam
hear it,
bands.
but I
Yeah,
just don't want to.
I appreciate it. I just don't necessarily really like it. And so I'm with you on that. Congrats to you for playing music that well, Dave. But I'll be in another room.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go through, since I've got 21, I'm gonna group mine up,
Yeah.
uh, chunk mine up a little bit more because some of these are chunked in very specific ways, and some of them are not. So, but I will obviously the first two on my list. It makes sense to just start with those
Yeah.
because
Run with
I
it.
decided to throw in some classical music
You
in
did.
there because I if I think really long and hard about what type of music I listened to first in my life as a kid, it's probably some type of like classical music or classical lullaby or something that you listen to either in music class or
Uh,
something, something along those lines. And these are two pieces of music that I remember specific instances in which I listen to these and it just gives you a reaction because when you're growing up and you're listening to music, there's something about classical music that as a kid you're just like, this is dumb because there's no words. It's like classical music is the chapter book of music to kids because it's like there's no pictures, there's nothing. What am I supposed to do with this? And it's not until you're older when you start to appreciate some of the things that classical music can actually bring to the table. So if I'm looking back, I've got Beethoven, and there's something about Beethoven that I just really enjoy. I love the story behind Beethoven that he couldn't hear, and
mhm.
learning about all of this stuff in grade school is always a lot of fun. But my first exposure to Beethoven was Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Beethoven. That's
Okay.
I
Okay.
called him Beethoven for a long time.
Well, how old
And
were you at the time? Do you think?
like four,
Yeah,
five,
because
maybe.
that's I'm in high school at the time. Okay.
So eventually, once I found out, like an idiot, that is like it's pronounced Beethoven. Like,
Mhm.
oh, my bad about
Yeah.
that. And I picked specifically Moonlight Sonata
Yep.
because it's beautiful piano music. It just reminds, like, obviously Moonlight Sonata, it reminds you of night. I do have a very another specific instance where this song came into play, but I won't talk about that until I get to another song later down my
Okay.
list. But this was one that I know that my dad had on like a soundtrack of like classical music, and this is one that he would listen to a lot when he wanted to relax. So this is something that I was like, oh, I really enjoy this. And it kind of does put me to ease as well, even with the context of knowing that, is it the happiest piece of music? No, but it is relaxing. And there's something about the piano that is just, it just gives me the chills. So I
Yeah.
really like that.
It's eloquent, it's romantic, and it's simple.
Mhm.
That's the genius of this song is the simplicity of it, but it's so damn good.
Mhm.
The melody is so damn good. So that's the one question I was going to ask is was classical music on in your house when you were
Mhm.
a kid? And it sounds like it was at least in the background at some point.
Yeah. Same thing with, Pachelbel's Canon in D. It's something that it gets played at weddings all the time.
Yep.
It gets played all kinds of different places. There was a trivia question recently about this when I hosted trivia and nobody got it. And I was like, what the hell, man? Like, do none of you go to weddings or do none of you
Yeah.
just, does nobody listen to something like this and be like, I wonder what this is? Maybe I'll Shazam it or Soundhound this. It turns out the answer is no. And they're just like, oh, that's nice. And this is the first piece of classical music that I can remember that incorporated strings and was
Mhm.
like, Oh,
Pretty cool.
this is interesting. I like
As
this
a
too.
rhythm. So a lot of times strings are kind of a background thing to create feel, but this is the rhythm of the song is the strings in the one that you're mentioning, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. So these are two pieces of classical music. This is, with the exception of maybe a lullaby, which, okay, cool. Like, I'm not going to put in a lullaby or like a Disney version of a lullaby or Coco
Right.
Melon or whatever the hell it is as the entry point for this. I felt pretty comfortable putting in classical music in here
Yeah,
because it does two things for me. One, it creates the entry point for my list because it's pretty early on in my life when I first listened to classical music. Plus, also historically looking at this music, it comes chronologically in order as well.
sure.
So, so those are my first two. Pachelbel's Canon in D also has something to do with other songs on this list, and I will get to that later. So, Tim, however you want to start your list, however you want to chunk it up, and I'll let you start.
Okay, pretty ballsy move going with classical first. I mean, if we're going on the timeline, that's pretty early on the timeline. So hats off to you for that. I start in the 50s with Great Balls of Fire from Jerry Lee Lewis. And here's why. It's not because I'm a piano player. It's my dad had a mixtape that he played in the car every time we went in the damn car. He didn't listen to the radio. He had a mixtape. He probably had three or four of them. But when we went on a trip, he pushed the tape right into the cassette player, and the music was awful. It was terrible. I have an older brother and an older sister, and we all hated it. And he said the same thing when we were kids. When you get your car, you can play whatever music you want in your car. While we're in my car and I'm driving, I get to pick. And just Engelbert Humperdinck and Perry Como, like just this awful stuff. And then when you got to side two and you flipped it over, the first song on side two, out of nowhere, was Great Balls of Fire. And sitting in the back seat, as soon as that first part of that song comes up, you would just perk your head up and go, "What is this? Isn't the same thing as the rest." And then as soon as this song was over, it went back to absolute shit. But that was for me the first song that I heard in the family vehicle or in the house that, like got my attention and made me go, some music can be pretty cool. Whereas most of it was terrible on that mixtape. That's why I put Great Balls of Fire first. Jerry Lee Lewis was an amazing entertainer and piano player. I mean, I learned a lot more as I went on, but at the time when it was just listening to the music, it was something. As the kids say, it was fire.
Do kids still say that it's fire?
Yep,
Okay.
yep,
You would know you are a
yep,
teacher. So,
yep. Things are still fire.
all right, cool. The first time I heard Great Balls of Fire was watching Top Gun. And that was one that
Oh
was like,
yeah, Goose is playing on the piano.
yep, that
That's a
yeah,
pretty cool scene.
that is a great scene. And
Hmm.
something that will come up later on in my list, that movies are pretty huge influence in my musical tastes. Do you want to go to the next one or do you want to hold off on that?
No, it makes sense for me to go on the next one because the first two for me are grouped as the mixtape things. So I made you listen to the song "I Don't Believe in If Anymore"
No,
from Roger Whittaker.
you didn't make me. I got to listen to it and was like, yeah, this was a choice. Okay.
It's a terrible song, but here's the thing: those mixtapes from my dad, Roger Whittaker was all over them, and so I went and listened to maybe seven or eight Roger Whittaker songs. I knew the words to every damn one of them, and I was like, "Oh, for God's sake, what happened to my childhood? This is terrible." And so I picked one. I don't believe in If anymore. I don't think he whistles in that one. He was a big whistler. So he was an Irish guy and he was an Irish folky crooner type thing. If you could put those three things together, that's who Roger Whittaker was. And I hated it. I hated all of it. Some of it was decent storytelling, though. So you'd get a visual in your head about some constable going into a town and, breaking out of jail. And, some of the stories were pretty good, but the music is just awful. I mean, just terrible. So, since this is autobiographical, I had to go with two songs from the mixtape. One that I really enjoyed and set me up for an appreciation of 50s rock and roll. And I would say I Don't Believe in If Anymore by Roger Whittaker. is there purely as an emotional scar. So I'd like to say I'm sorry that I made you listen to it, but I'm really not that sorry. I hope
You
it
should
was painful.
You shouldn't be sorry. It wasn't painful. It
Uh,
was like, when you listen to something and you're like, boy, what happened
what
here?
the
Like
hell is
I
going on?
gotta I
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a couple songs on my list that you're just like, boy, this better be a good story, because otherwise, what are we doing
Uh-huh.
here?
Yeah.
So I'm looking at like the rest of my list is kind of chunked into where I got some of my musical influence and some of my musical taste from.
Okay.
And this next group, it's the older stuff because when I was younger, listened to a lot of the oldies station. And it
Okay.
sucks because nowadays oldies music is like the 80s and I just want to die.
Or
Yep.
90s.
Yeah, that
Yes.
when I the first time I heard Smells Like Teen Spirit on one of those oldies
Right.
stations, I really wanted to just pull over and just reflect, but I had somewhere that I needed to be. So
Okay.
I
All
was
right.
like, oh, what are we doing? But
Yeah.
if I'm being objective about some of the oldies music that I know and love, and this was a tough call because there's a lot of great
Sure.
oldies songs. As you mentioned before, and you hate Motown, I also did not
Damn it.
include any of the Motown songs on here. I really wanted to throw in some Temptations. I really wanted to
Yep.
throw in some James Brown, but I just couldn't I just couldn't fit it in. So if I'm thinking of oldies and thinking about like the first band that I actually grew up like listening to some of their songs and realizing, oh, these people they don't just have one song, as my stupid mind in like listening to the radio, I just didn't understand it. The Beatles, everybody goes through either a phase or something where they're like, oh, so this is like a legit transcendent band.
Mm.
So I agonized by which Beatles song I wanted to put on this list. It almost doesn't seem fair because people could probably put like a Beatles, like make a whole list of Beatles songs and be like, this either influenced my life or I have a story for it, or kind of do something like Across the Universe where they, incorporate Beatles songs into like every part of their life. So, and I ended up picking In My Life because I remember listening to this song and just when I was younger and just like swaying my head and just like I think it's one of the first songs that I actually like learned the lyrics to that
Okay.
like I liked a lot. My dad had a Beatles album and this was one that was on there, so I like that a lot too. But there was something about it. I enjoyed listening to the lyrics and just it like it felt like listening to a story a little bit. And
Mhm.
that was like one of the first times that I truly appreciated what music could be. And then the other two, those are just classic examples of just like songs that you just remember because it's catchy, it's fun to dance to.
Yep.
La Bamba is also like specifically the Richie Valens version. It's just interesting because that showed to me that like, hey, it's not just about listening to the lyrics, it's about other things like that electric guitar just is
Mhm.
awesome. Plus, I growing up, the movie La Bamba was very big in our house. We had the La Bamba soundtrack, and that version of La Bamba is like way faster and way heavier than the
Mhm.
Richie Valens version. But going back and listening to like 50s and 60s music, man, they just don't make it like that anymore.
Correct.
And then I have Jackie Wilson, Your Love Keeps Lifting Me Higher and Higher. I love this song. This is just one of those songs that just puts a smile on my face. And also this is another movie song where I listened to it on the radio a lot. It was just a song that just came up a lot. But this song also was just fun because it was in Ghostbusters too. Just like
Ah.
a random place for a song like this to come up. But the interesting thing about this is that I didn't really understand the power of that song until this song helped move the Statue of Liberty, and I've just believed in the power of it ever since.
Ah, nice. Well, I will say that Jackie Wilson is Motown adjacent.
Uh,
That's a Detroit guy, and he was recording stuff in Detroit. He just wasn't on the Motown label. Some of what he did actually started before the Motown label even started. Love the pick for In My Life for the Beatles. I agree. Everybody has a different part of their life where they just it's almost like a rite of passage. You sort of have to go, let me listen to another thing, and then you find out, oh shit, there was more that I like about this than I thought.
mm,
And I that year that movie La Bamba came out with Lou Diamond Phillips playing the Los Lobos version of this was on the radio all the time, every day. And I remember I was in high school, and we were in our Spanish class. We were interpreting or getting English. The English version of this makes no sense whatsoever. The lyrics of La Bamba literally make no sense at all. But I love those picks, and I love that you're going before time, listening to classics, and the conversation about what is classic radio is kind of funny now because
it is.
you know when I was younger, classic radio was 60s and maybe 50s, but the generation before me wouldn't have that because there wasn't, the popular music wasn't like this,
Mhm.
back then. So for classic music to have moved on to genres where we were kids and it was present music when we were kids is painful.
Yes, I would. I
No
would
doubt about
agree.
that.
I would
Love
agree.
the picks. Jackie Wilson, Higher and Higher is my favorite of that group, but I those are really fun picks, and I hadn't left my neighborhood yet, riding on my bike listening to them. I know exactly where I was down the street listening to Higher and Higher, and I was having a ball. I didn't even care if I got run over by a car. That was a nice, pleasant bike ride on a really pleasant day.
Yes. All right. Go ahead. Your next
Oh
group or
yeah,
your next song. I
so
see
I'm.
Wango Tango by
That's right.
Ted Nugent.
The outstanding song Wango Tango from the absolute crazy man, Ted Nugent. Some background stuff here. My aunt, my mother's sister, went to high school with Ted Nugent,
Nice.
also a Detroit guy, right? Ted Nugent is absolutely insane. He's had all kinds of nicknames. I think the one most people land on is the Madman from Detroit or the Madman from Motor City or whatever. I'm not a huge fan of Ted Nugent as a person or his music. However, since this is autobiographical, my first immersion into music is being stuck in a car with my dad's mixtape with terrible music. My second introduction into music is my older brother. He's 6 years older than me, and he had probably an 8-track tape of Ted Nugent, if not a cassette tape. And he played Wango Tango, and I was like, this does not sound like what's on Dad's mixtape, or anything we're allowed to listen to in the family room. And so this was kind of we almost had to like go upstairs into the furthest bedroom and hush hush listen to this stuff so we wouldn't get yelled at because I don't know what your household was like or maybe like the mid 80s, but I was born in 1972, and in the 70s still you would get yelled at for listening to bad music.
Yes.
Like you can't listen to that rock and roll shit in my house. Or maybe that's just my dad being an ass. I don't know. But I remember my brother and I pushing the volume as loud as we could without being afraid of being caught. And this song in particular is the rhythm of the guitar just drives, and it's kind of manic, which, madman, man, makes sense. But the energy that I felt when I heard this song was so different than my dad's crooner crap that I was listening to in the car that it really got me excited about music, and it made me want to jump around off the bed. I mean, I'm just a little kid, but the music gave me a lot of energy and made me want to go do things and, get excited. And this was the first song that I ever remember feeling that way. Shortly after that, he came home with the vinyl copy of Led Zeppelin 4 and played that for me. And so my brother was always quick to gravitate towards that kind of hard rock, bluesy hard rock edge, and it was an easy sell for me. I mean, he's my older brother. He shows up with music. It's not my dad's music, and I loved it. But Wango Tango was the very first one, and there's that crazy part in the middle where the guitar solo stops, and it's almost like a rap. He's just singing this, he's painting this picture, which is not really appropriate for a 5-year-old kid to be listening to, but it was outstanding. It was rock and roll. It was exploding out of the speakers, and I had to listen to it over and over. So my first experience of being an independent music lover away from my parents and getting excited about music is Ted Nugent's Wango Tango. That's why this is on the list.
Interesting. Okay.
Then it came up in Stranger Things, and I lost my shit. And I had to tell Nikki the same story that she's already heard 5 times before. And she's like, I already know this. And I was like, wait, I'm getting to the good part.
Oh, all right. That's a good one. Because when I was listening to this, when I put together this list and I listened to that one, I don't know, like I haven't listened to a lot of Ted Nugent,
Mm,
admittedly. And the last time that I listened to or that I had Ted Nugent kind of in the purview was playing Guitar Hero, and there was a
oh,
Ted
sure.
Nugent song. But I don't know, this was a good pick, and this was one where I was like, I don't really listen to his music, but maybe I should a little bit
Mm.
more. Maybe that's one that I turned 40 this year in a couple months.
For
So
those of you listening, he just looked off into the distance with some kind of dismay in his face. That was hard for you to say that out loud, wasn't it?
well, I've been as the slow trek to my 40th birthday continues on throughout the course of this year. I don't know. I've just been way more reflective of my life,
Yeah.
as stupid as that sounds, but I don't know. I feel that my music taste is just it's getting harder and harder for me to find music that's currently playing that I like. So I look back instead and yeah.
That's a great sentence. I feel it's always been easier for me to go back to find music that I missed than it is to go forward or get current.
Yeah.
I think it's always been easier for me to go backward.
Yeah. Do you want to hit up your next song? Because I'm excited to talk about Prince, or is that a separate?
No, that's going to move on to a different era of my life. So
Okay.
let's bounce back to you and get into your. If you're going to do what I think you're going to do, I'm seeing 3 songs that I have grouped together for you. And if you have them grouped together, this is going to be fun for me.
Yes, they are grouped together
Yes.
because I'm looking. So I took a good hard look at the musical influences of the people around me that I was closest to at the time, which
Okay.
at that time was my mom, my dad, and my sister. And specifically, I started with my dad because growing up, I was somebody who I was really close with my dad and somebody that I idolized a lot. So then when he left, I you don't realize some of the influence that your parents have on you until something critical happens. And
Hmm.
I know some of my musical taste, a lot of my musical taste comes from my early days when my dad was like around a little bit more consistently.
Hmm.
So my dad loved Phil Collins, just
Ooh.
loved Phil Collins. And Invisible Touch by Genesis is the first song that I can remember saying, this is my favorite song.
Oh,
Just plain and
love
simple.
this. I love
Um,
this.
so it was one where I knew all the lyrics. And it's weird because this is a song that, like, as a 5 or 6 year old singing, it's like, these are pretty like weird lyrics for like a kid to be singing.
Yeah.
But I loved it so much that it just kind of helped grow my appreciation for not just Phil Collins and Genesis, but even just like the drums as well, because I did like that a lot. Plus, that album as well is the first album that I bought when I was old enough to like buy CDs on my own. I ended up getting rid of a lot of my CDs, and then there's one day I was in a used record store and I found it, and it just kind of brought me back to
Yeah.
just this is the first song that I remember truly saying that this is my favorite song of all time. And this is one that I wore the album out on this or the CD rather. I ended up breaking it because I dropped it and then it scratched and then I
Yeah.
tried to fix it and my dad was really pissed about that. But yeah, I was just
That
young and dumb.
happens.
Young and
That
dumb.
happens. Well, I mean, this is a 1986 album,
Mhm.
and you were born in 1985.
Yep.
So this had been. So was this already in the house? I mean, you said
Yeah,
this is the
this
first one
was
you bought,
when I
or
was when I was older, when like
oh, okay. So it was your dad's CD that
it
you
was
scratched, and
yeah,
I see.
yeah.
I see. So I'd love to jump in here
Sure.
because I love this song. Absolutely love this song. Phil Collins, I'm a little hit or miss on, but you can't deny what a great musician and artist he is. Like he's done so many things and like Grammys and awards and the other artists that he's worked with. Not to mention drumming and singing is just it's mind-boggling to me anybody who can do that. And there's a short list of really famous people who've been able to do that. I love the Phil Collins story and the Genesis story. It's its own, behind the music
Yeah.
VH1, kind of thing that we don't have time here for, but it's really interesting that Phil Collins and some of the other guys in Genesis went off and did solo projects, but said, "Hey, we're not leaving the band. We're just doing this for now."
Mhm.
And this was the comeback. Phil Collins got huge with No Jacket Required, much bigger than he ever had been with Genesis, and kept to his word. And they came out with this album, and this song is outstanding.
So, in that same vein, Prince and Michael Jackson were pretty emblematic or emblematic artists in my childhood because they're icons. They are
Yes,
like it's not like for me, Michael Jackson and even Prince to some extent or another showed that hey, there is a certain level of showmanship that comes with music where this isn't just about something that you're listening to, it's also about being entertained as
right.
well. I agonized with a Michael Jackson song to put on this list, and I usually have a rule,
Same.
unless I have a good reason for it. I usually try to pick one artist per list, and it was my original draft of this before I sent it to you had like seven Michael Jackson songs on here. I could have put
Yeah.
like half the songs from the Thriller album
Yep.
on there, but I settled on Smooth Criminal for that opening riff. It just makes me so happy. And this also has something that's kind of connected to like Moonlight Sonata, but I'll get to that later. And this is also one where the music video of this is interesting as well. And there's a whole portion of this list that didn't make it into volume 1 where the music video was a big way that I consumed music at the time, but or like when I got older. But Smooth Criminal is just one of those songs that you can't help but like at least not like flat out dance, but like you gotta bob your head a little bit to that opening riff, and you can't help but like, Annie, are you okay? Like the lyrics don't make a lick of sense, but it's still really, really good in that respect. And between this and I really wanted to like the Michael Jackson song you picked was on the short list as well.
Mm.
Billie Jean, I considered that as well because the first time I had heard Billie Jean was also the first time I saw Michael Jackson do the moonwalk. It
Oh
was
yeah,
like,
the award
whoo,
show thing.
whoo, that's awesome. And then there's Thriller. There's just so many songs by Michael Jackson I could have put on this list. And Prince was like a really hard cut for this, but these were albums that my dad had, and this is
Mm.
something that he taught me that music can also be something that you could use as entertainment as
Yep.
well. Like like back in the day when you could like videotape recordings of just stuff on TV and not just like TiVo it or DVR it. You had to resort to like physically recording it
Yeah.
at the right time on a VHS tape.
Yes.
And he had a couple concerts that he had taped from or clips from concerts from Michael Jackson that we watched together as well.
Yeah. I don't know if you grew up in the era that we did. We were boys when Michael Jackson was at the top of not just his game, he was at the top of everybody's game. The videos he was putting out, the song production, the absolute mania of the public wherever he went was crazy. There was a frenzy of people just wanting to get close to him. I really enjoy this pick. Now, I will say that as a teacher, I've had several girls in my class named Annie, and I ask them if they're okay all the time until they get the joke. And when they do get the joke, they look at me like I never should have done it in the first place, and I'm never going to stop doing that.
Absolutely. You
Yeah.
you shouldn't. Yeah. This is one where if I need a song, if I sense at trivia that things are kind of dying down a little bit, this is a song I usually play because
To
this will
pick me
get
up.
everybody going. And
Somebody in the 90s did a like a punk band
Oh,
did
that's
a version
Alien
of
Ant
this.
Farm. Yeah,
Alien Ant
I
Farm, that's right.
yeah, I
And they did a
remember.
really good job with it. And I like that one too.
I remember that. That yeah, that was interesting because that also kind of started a trend, not like a trend, but like Fall Out Boy did a version of Beat It as well, and
Hmm.
like lots of these bands, they tried to capture the spirit that Michael Jackson had with his music, but nobody's ever going to.
Right.
And this is also one where it's like I struggle a lot with separating artist from man,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
like just it's hard for me in a lot of ways. And this is one that like I can't, like I hate to admit it, I can't do it.
Hmm.
Like this like I'm always going to be a huge fan of Michael Jackson and all of his music. And I just remember also, when you remember certain things in your life that you happen, it's like, I remember when that happened. I remember hearing when Michael Jackson died, and I was like, no,
Yeah.
no, this isn't a thing. And then when word came out, it's like, no, this is legit. And then just Michael Jackson was just playing on repeat and like
Hmm.
every radio station, that's all they were playing. So yeah, so Michael Jackson. And then the last one, I struggle a lot with, saying there's so many musicians and so many artists out there that saying something's your favorite seems silly, because
Yeah.
a lot of what we do with music is it depends on mood, it depends on a lot of different variables. It's kind of the same thing with movies too, right?
Hmm.
Like
Yep.
saying something's your favorite movie, like, are you always going to be in the mood to watch a certain type of movie? Like, I'm never going to be in the mood to watch The Godfather at every single moment of my life. I have to be in a
Right.
little bit of the specific mood. So, but with that being said, the closest I've ever gotten is Queen. And this kind of mixes not only the showmanship piece of it, because Freddie Mercury is just one of those just is going to be one of those one of a kind individuals who has got just a voice that you're like, oh, this I'm going to stop whatever I'm doing and I'm going to listen to it, but also have
Hmm.
the showmanship to go with it as
Hmm.
well. My dad had a greatest hits album for Queen, and that's the first album that I can remember listening to on repeat pretty much all the time. And
Yeah.
I actually still have that greatest hits CD still to this day. It's downstairs in my basement. Like I showed it to my daughter once and she was like, "What am I supposed to do with this? Like, do if I flip it over, is it going to play music? Like what do I do?
Yeah.
Like where do I put it? Like I don't
Yeah.
know what to do with this." And it
Yeah.
just made me sad. But I picked We Will Rock You. This was purely a time thing because this is 2 minutes long. So you could sneak this in
Hmm.
wherever. Somebody to Love is one of my favorite songs of all time. Bohemian Rhapsody had I've got so many stories of singing Bohemian Rhapsody with friends that it's just hard to it was hard not to pick it. And plus also Wayne's World, like
Yeah.
headbanging and everything
Yeah.
like that. Listening to so going to sporting events and they play Another One Bites the Dust anytime that somebody loses, or just listening to Fat Bottom Girls, and just once you finally realize like this is hideously inappropriate for a kid to sing, but it's still fun. It's still a
Right.
lot of fun to sing.
Their choruses are infectiously fun.
They had such a diverse group of songs, kind
Hmm.
of kind of like the Beatles, where they have they went through a lot of different genres. They experimented a lot. They did things that not a lot of other people were doing. Queen was an artist that my dad specifically like would sit down and talk to me about Queen. And We Will Rock You, also as a somebody who played hockey as a kid and knowing that the Mighty Ducks was like a big deal, We Will Rock You was like big in our house. So that's the one I picked. I'm not going to go so far as to say that I regret putting it on, because it's it was a strategic move to
Hmm.
put Queen as an excuse, not only to talk about Queen, but it
Hmm.
was also it's got the movie connection, it's got the sports connection. Yeah, I We Will Rock You is it's a ridiculous song. It's 2 minutes. And also this is where the showmanship piece comes about, because I remember in Bohemian Rhapsody, when they talked about this song, and I know it's not exactly how it happens. Like, I want a song that like the people can play. And
Oh,
it's
right. They can clap too. Right.
like even my daughter, who hasn't listened to a whole lot of music besides Kids Bop and whatever shit's on YouTube right now, she knows how to
It's
do.
it will be on at the next sporting event you go to.
Yep,
It's that big of a deal.
yep.
So I was pretty close to picking this, believe it or not, because if I don't go Wango Tango for Ted Nugent, I'm going to go with this because this was the first single vinyl that we had in the house that didn't belong to like my dad
Mm.
with his shitty music. So my brother brings home the single, and it is We Are the Champions feeds directly into We Will Rock You. That's one song, the one side of the single. I don't remember what was on the other side, but we kind of got away with playing it because We Are the Champions it's not that crazy rock and roll stuff. And even when you play We Will Rock You, it's like a drum beat and then there's not really anything there. But one thing you didn't talk about is that guitar solo.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he hits a note and sits on feedback forever and then plays this crazy good guitar solo without the band following him. That's the genius of this. It's not like the bass player picks up and does something crazy to put a different chord structure for him to play over. He's just playing over the same thing, and Brian May is just killing it right there. I listened to that in what we would call our living room, which was, again, where that organ was, the furthest room away from the family room, over and over and over. And I played air guitar as, like, a 6-year-old. We Are the Champions into We Will Rock You was an amazing musical thing to experience as a little boy. Love that pick. Love it.
All right. Your next grouping. Very excited about some of these songs.
Okay, so two songs that both came out in 1982 are 1999 from Prince and Beat It from Michael Jackson. Thriller is out in 1982, and the album 1999 from Prince is out in 1982. And I honestly think this is the reason that people put those two dudes against each other. And there was a competition in the media's eyes. There was a competition between Prince and Michael Jackson. I don't think either one of them cared about this competition,
No.
but that's how it got played out because they were both doing pop music and they were both so astronomically huge in the early 80s. So why is this for me autobiographically? Why am I picking this? Because now I grew up in the city and my parents would take us to this campground out of the city in the summer so that we weren't running around the streets and throwing rocks at cars. And this campground was sort of fenced in. So really, you could get in trouble in the campground, but you couldn't get in like the police are going to show up kind of trouble. So they would take us out of the city to this campground. Well, that campground is where I started to make my own friends. I mean, I had friends in school, but that's school. This is where I started to really get away from the family and start to create relationships with people outside of the family. And I'm probably 9 years old at the time. And they had a lot of organized activities at this campground. Like they had kiddie softball and adult softball. They had an activities director that would, whatever time of the day you showed up and there was bingo here at this time or whatever. Well, they also had dances. And one weekend in particular, they didn't have a dance and we went over to somebody's campsite and somebody decided, hey, we're just going to play music and we'll just have our own dance. And this is me and my friends. This isn't my brother. It's not my sister. It's not my family. It's me out with my own group. And I had never heard it before, but somebody played 1999. And I was like, what is this? It's the music at the time didn't have funk element with big drums and then guitar. Like it didn't, like a lead guitar, and then these vocals are just out of the stratosphere. And so I was just like, I don't even understand what this is. And then they kept it going, and so they played Little Red Corvette too, and I was immediately hooked for the rest of my life on how cool Prince is. When you're 9, you don't get it. Throughout my entire life, I've just been a Prince fan and listened to more and more songs, and I've been impressed with him. Like you said before about the entertainment aspect with Freddie Mercury and Michael Jackson. Prince is right up on that list. And watching his videos or watching him perform live or the kind of music he made is has been a lifelong, very fun thing for me to be a part of.
Mhm.
But this song in particular is on this list because of about 15 kids around somebody's camper dancing to music on grass to 1999. And then Beat It is my next song. Came out in the same year. Thriller, I think, came out before 1999 did. Now, I remember this from being in school. So, 1999, we listened to that was summer in the campground, but in school, these videos came out, and that performance in the award show when he did the moonwalk, the Beat It video with Eddie Van Halen's guitar was just some kind of different level. Loved Billie Jean, loved Thriller, memorized all the dance steps. I even went out as Michael Jackson on Halloween, wore the blackface, which I now realize made me a racist. But, retrospect. Idolized Michael Jackson completely, but there was something about the song Beat It that had the edge to it. His other songs didn't necessarily have that kind of an edge. That if we go back and think to my brother's influence of Wango Tango and Queen, and then this pop stuff that Michael Jackson was doing that I liked, but this one kind of was a bridge between those.
Mhm.
And young Tim Larsen really enjoyed that song in particular because it did have a guitar edginess to it. The video kicked ass.
Yes, it did.
I could do the dance steps right now. I'm not gonna, but I could. And I just Prince and Michael Jackson. If you didn't take anything else out of the '80s and you just took those two guys, you're doing pretty good.
These are great picks. Prince's "Let's Go Crazy" was a very hard cut
Me
for
too.
me for
Yep.
time. In fact, just you mentioned it before, the Purple Rain album.
Yep.
That was a pretty popular soundtrack, even though it was just a Prince showcase. That's all it was. That movie is ridiculous. And truth be told, Tim, one of these days I'm going to pick it for the
If
movie
you
group.
don't, you wouldn't be the only one. There's three of us that would pick that in this
Yeah.
movie group.
So
Yeah.
it's a ridiculous movie, but it's one of my favorite memories of Prince when he played the Super Bowl halftime show as well.
Oh,
And it
for
was
God's sake.
raining. And it will, like, to me, that will go down as like the greatest Super Bowl halftime show ever,
Right.
perhaps. And he's playing Purple Rain, and it's fucking raining as
It's raining.
well.
It's
And
pouring rain.
like he's another one that like when word started to come out that he died, was like,
That was
damn
terrible.
it. Damn it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was rough. And Prince is one that you're right. They like I think unnecessarily the media pit them against one another. And I
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately was team Michael Jackson. I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
like a big Prince fan until I was a little bit older
Mm-hmm.
and like started to realize like kind of go with me on this comparison for a second. You remember in Hamilton when Aaron Burr, after he shoots Hamilton, says the world was big enough for Alexander and me? Well, the world was big enough for Prince and Michael Jackson. So
Right.
uh,
Right.
it's a horrible comparison, but yeah, and the with Beat It, you're right. The music video, the dancing,
It's like a West Side Story kind of thing. The jacket
the
thing. Yep.
jacket, everything about that song is great. That opening guitar lick is just, oh, just love it.
Now, an embarrassing thing, I was a very big Michael Jackson fan, and my mother knew this, and I got a Kmart version of that jacket
Oh,
that we put
nice.
on layaway, and it took us a while to pick it up. But she got me this craft kit at a dime store, and it was a white cotton glove where you could glue on sequins. And I went to a dance with a Michael Jackson glove, and I've taken some shit from my friends about that for many, many years, but I did wear a Michael Jackson glove to a dance.
Tim, for what it's worth, unless there's a picture, I don't believe you. So,
There isn't a picture. Maybe not.
well, that's too bad because that would be delightful
Mhm.
to watch. Great picks. I love both of those picks.
Mm.
Your story specifically about Prince reminds me a little bit of a mix that I did recently. I called it Friday Night Alternative Songs,
Mhm.
where that was the first time that like I was branching out, kind of hanging out with friends, and it was Friday Night Alternatives was just an excuse for kids in like late elementary school, early middle school to hang
Oh,
out with
okay.
one another at school or like at night so that they wouldn't get in trouble. It wasn't quite a dance, but it wasn't like a party. So they called it Friday Night Alternatives. And
Yeah.
it was like the first time that I would like, I'm experiencing this music with my friends, and this is something that we can talk about versus pretty much my next group of songs. These are all the mom songs on my
Ah,
list. So after my parents got divorced, it was just my mom and my sister. So naturally, as the lone boy
you're in
in
a
this,
girl's house. Yeah.
I don't get a say or anything when it comes to the radio, when it comes to the music.
Oh, this list makes so much more sense after you said that.
Yeah. So, however, what it did for me, particularly, so the Martina McBride song on here, this is a song that my mom listened to a lot. And this is my first exposure to country music. And I don't develop a appreciation for country music until college, which is why it's not in this version. Because country music becomes a very big part of my life after, like, once I get to college. And, Wilden can attest to this that, like, we had student government on Wednesday nights. And then afterwards, we would usually like with a group of people maybe go get like food afterwards, but after that I was at the bar, I was at country night afterwards, and I was line dancing, and I gotta say, Larson, I'm pretty damn good at
If
it.
there isn't picture proof of this, it didn't happen. I'm going to throw that right back at you. I'm going to need to see a picture of this. Oh, he grabbed his phone. Ladies and
I
gentlemen, he
got
grabbed his phone.
I got plenty of pictures of me country line dancing.
Okay.
And
All right.
also, I think Wilden, I've known Wilden a long time. He's at least had to have witnessed it once.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So the Martina McBride song is one that my mom listened to a lot, so it's got a special place in my heart. But the other three, because you look at the three others that I have in this group, you've got Mariah, you've
Yep.
got Whitney, and you've
Yep.
got Celine. What do they all
Okay.
have in common? They have powerhouse voices.
Yeah, absolute divas. Right.
I also snuck in the Mariah Carey because is One Sweet Day by Mariah Carey my favorite Mariah Carey song? Absolutely not. But does it
Okay.
have Boys to Men in it? Which that is sneakily one of Boys to Men is sneakily one of my favorite groups because that was also my introduction to like 90s R&B, which
Mm-hmm.
shapes a lot of my musical taste. But
Harmonies just off the charts.
mhm.
Boys to Men and their ability to harmonize stuff is I don't know if I've heard anybody else do it that well.
That is true, and also another Motown group that you hate. So cool.
Oh,
There's that. Mariah Carey. My
let me
mom,
get
my my mom loved Mariah Carey from the
mm,
start. So we
okay.
had all the Mariah Carey albums. My mom stopped listening to Mariah Carey when she started experimenting a little bit more with like rap and hip hop. I still listen to it because I still liked it, but my appreciation for Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston, and Celine Dion I attribute to my mom. And it does help me a lot because knowing the lyrics to Mariah Carey songs really helped me out in college meeting girls.
Oh yeah.
Because
Being
because
around your sister and your mom helped you
that
meeting girls.
that is a back pocket skill that like it's a good conversation starter. The only one that I didn't have on this list that also kind of fit into this was Madonna. Madonna is another one that
Yeah.
a good back pocket skill to have, knowing all the lyrics to Like a Prayer that you could sing at karaoke just to get someone's phone
Yeah.
number. Yeah. So Mariah Carey, like for me, also, like the second song that I can remember being my favorite song when I was younger was Always Be My Baby by Mariah Carey. And the only reason why I didn't pick that one is because Boyz II Men didn't sing
Oh
in
man.
that one. So all of these are all mom picks. These are all ones that we listen to on repeat a lot. So three of these are like pretty heavy love songs as well. I attribute my love for love songs a lot to my mom. And
Love that.
uh
That's great.
yeah, so I hope that all of these make a little bit more sense that like, oh, these are the mom songs. Okay, I get it now.
I'm actually glad that you explained that because I was judging you a little bit earlier today.
Oh, that's
Um,
fine. I get that. And I get judged a lot for the music I listen to because
mhm.
I play Whitney Houston a lot. Like Whitney Houston to me, I do not dance at a wedding until I hear I want to dance with somebody. I am not I'm going to sit in my seat. I'm going to bitch and complain until it comes
Mike,
on.
you want to dance? I haven't heard Whitney. If you don't play
I have
Whitney, I'm
not.
not going to get up and dance.
My wife can attest to this. This is one of the last weddings we went to. She was like, "You want to dance?" I'm like, "No, I'm not feeling it. No, no." As soon as I want to dance with somebody came on, I grabbed her hand and was like, "Get your ass out here. Now it's time to dance."
That's great. I have a note written down for Whitney Houston. Saturday, my wife and I watched the Billy Joel documentary that's all over Hulu right now, and so it goes. Billy Joel, that's another virtuoso guy. Like some of these documentaries, you just mention something and he sits down the piano and he just starts knocking it out at a level that I don't even understand. And I've been playing the piano for, I don't know, 35, 40 years. In that documentary, he talks about meeting Christy Brinkley. He had gone on tour and he had never been on like a vacation. He had been through a divorce. And one of his guys said, I think Quincy Jones actually said, "Hey, go to this island. This is where just go and relax." So he goes there thinking, all right, it's just me and a beach and I'll clear my mind. And there's supermodels everywhere. So then the documentary goes to Christy Brinkley, and she's like, "We're just out there having fun, and we see this goofy guy playing the piano, and so we all kind of gravitate towards this Billy fucking Joel." So she's flirting with him. Christy Brinkley is sitting down on the piano bench with him while he's playing, and she's singing. And another one of the supermodels, who has not yet been discovered as a singer, Whitney Houston, because she was a model first before she was a singer, was in this group and she said, "Hey, I can sing too." And she starts singing as Billy Joel is playing. Can you imagine being in this fucking bar? And Christy Brinkley was like, "This bitch is totally stealing my move." But Christy ends up with the boy anyway, and
Mhm.
then later on not. But how about that for an early Whitney Houston story?
Yeah.
Billy Joel meeting and flirting with Christy Brinkley, and Whitney Houston is out there cock blocking. I think that's fantastic.
That's great. I love that story. I had a Nissan Rogue. I named it Whitney because the first song that came on was a Whitney Houston song, maybe by choice, but it
Uh-huh.
just, it just came on and I was like, name of this car is Whitney. So I like that. Yeah, just again, powerhouse voice. One of my favorite Whitney Houston songs. It's not really like a song, like it is a song per se, but like her performance of the national anthem, it
Hmm.
just will go down for
Yep.
me as like, holy shit, man, you can sing.
No, there's a lot of people that put her at the top of the list of female singers, and that's over Aretha. And I think there's
That's
merit to people saying that.
there is merit to that. But yeah,
It's debatable, but there's merit to it.
all of these just powerhouse vocals, like Martina McBride, not so much, but like particularly Celine, Whitney,
Mhm.
Mariah, all of them, just it's crazy to think people can be that talented with their voice, like, and here we are in this day and age where like auto tuning is a thing, and it kind of makes you wonder, it's like, how did this person get to be discovered? Like, you have an interesting voice. I wouldn't say it's good. You have an interesting voice for like some artist out there, but
Mhm.
then you have these, and it's like, man, it gives me chills when I
Yep.
listen to these people sing. And it's been a long time since I've had something like that happen. So yeah, these four, well, the three and Martina McBride, I guess.
I love that you include this as a conversation about your mom. There's something kind of beautiful about that. My mom's favorite music was Barry Manilow.
Yeah,
So I had
fuck
that going
yeah.
for me. However, her second favorite was ABBA, and I'm going to say that one worked out pretty well. I
What do you
could
have?
do word for word Barry Manilow, and I'm a little embarrassed about it, but I can do word for word ABBA, and I'm not embarrassed about
You should never be embarrassed about knowing Barry Manilow's
that.
music.
Well,
There's a
thank you
time
for that.
there's a time and a place for that always. So
I'll do Weekend in New England right now if you want me to.
nice.
Okay,
I,
I'm
I'm
gonna.
I'm very excited about your next song because I love, love,
Mhm.
love this song.
Hmm.
so much.
And it's a great transition too, because the reason I picked this one, I've already gone over my older brother, was he gravitated towards hard rock.
Mhm.
In the 70s, cool guys in high school were listening to hard rock. I mean, it's a trope in movies, but it was true. My sister wasn't like that. My sister liked the hits. In Detroit, the radio station was WHYT, and that literally meant top 40 hits. And so my brother had a bit of an influence on me, but my sister had the major influence on me as far as siblings are concerned. He's 6 years older, so he's off doing his thing. She's 4 years older. And for whatever reason, my sister, I think, really enjoyed being an older sister and taking care of her younger brother. I mean, she told me to always open the door for a girl.
Mhm.
Like she gave me life lessons about life from her perspective as a teenage girl and what teenage girls expect from teenage boys. And talk about, back pocket secrets. She gave me a
Uh-huh.
roadmap. I
Yep.
mean, she absolutely gave me a roadmap. I love my sister. We've always been very, very close. And so this one is dedicated to her. It's the song Always Something There to Remind Me by Naked Eyes, but it's really, as we discussed before, it's a package deal of all the one hit wonders that were the hits on the radio and top 40. This is one of my favorites. If it wasn't this, it was going to be Come On Eileen was another great one. There's a bunch of them. But here's the story. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. My dad had gotten laid off once or twice when I was real young. We didn't have a lot of money. And so at one point my mom got a job where she I think this is a once a week job, I don't remember, but during the summer we had a van, we had a big family van. We had to take the seats out of it. She went to a newspaper place and we got all of the packs of newspapers that had to go to the paper boys. And we had to go drop off at their house the pack of papers that the paper boys would then go deliver. That was my mom's job. And she just, since she was an at home mom, told me and my sister we had to go with her. So, as I remember, mom never picked up a thing. My sister and I picked up all of this. It was pretty heavy shit,
Yeah.
loaded it into the van, and as we rode around, we would go and take it off and put it on the porches. And there was a kind of a halfway point where there was a 7-Eleven, and mom would get us a pop and a candy bar. Like that's what we got paid. We got a pop and a candy bar, which we wouldn't have had at home. So, it's a bit of a win. But mom also let us listen to whatever we wanted on the radio. Dad wasn't there to put his mixtape shit in. And so Tracy, my sister's name is Tracy, she said, put on WHYT. And this is what was on the radio all the time while we were doing that. And we hated doing it. Like, we absolutely hated that we were getting dragged out of the house and having to go work. But we also had time where my brother wasn't around, my dad wasn't around. So it was just us, and we had fun. And we got that treat in the middle of it. And we sang. There weren't seats for us. We
Mhm.
were sitting on top of newspapers in the back of that van, but we sang like loudly whatever those one hit wonders were. And
Mhm.
this is one that I remember us singing in the van. Always something there to remind me is it comes in with those big horns. It's a
Yeah.
big sounding song, right?
Mhm.
Like you can't, it comes on, you can't ignore it. It's just something, there's a vibe there that gets you going. But I picked this as a dedication to my sister who told me to always open the door for a girl.
I love this song so much. I love the story as well. It segues very nicely because my next block is for my sister.
Oh,
So
great.
it's as if we planned this.
We did
Um,
not. We did not talk to each other about our lists at all.
so
It's
always
it's
something there to remind me. This is another. So when I host trivia, there's a couple songs like if I'm doing like an 80s block of music, there's usually three songs, like one of three songs I usually like I always look forward to playing and I have to check myself and be like, I can't play this for like 2 weeks in a row.
yeah.
But there's Easy Lover by Phil Collins. I love that
Oh,
song.
and Philip Bailey and
Yeah.
Phil, yeah.
That one it randomly came up in Ted Lasso and was like, oh, this is delightful. Everybody Wants to Rule the World
Oh,
by
Tears
Tears
for
for
Fears,
Fear.
right? Yeah.
And this one,
Yeah.
I love this song so much, and it segues nicely into my next three, which is the This Is My Sister block here, and kind of similar to you. So my sister is instrumental in raising me as
Mm.
as the person that I am today because it's not just her, it's her friends as well, where I learned what it meant to like treat women nicely and with respect. And the whole notion is like, would you want someone treating your sister that way? It like just holds true for me.
Yep.
And unfortunately, also, I got some of her shit musical taste as well. So I have new kids on the block.
This is boy band mania right here.
It is, it is.
Yeah.
We had a VHS tape of Hangin' Tough Live of New Kids on the Block. We recorded ourselves, which I'm not sure that they're still out there, but we
Does this
recorded.
exist? Does this still exist? I think I
It
need to
might
see
still
this.
exist. My sister
Proof or it
will.
doesn't?
My sister will affirm that this tape did exist at one point
Okay.
of us lip syncing to New Kids on the Block
That's
song.
great.
This I can trace back the origins to my love of boy bands thanks to my sister. So I've got a block of songs on volume 2 or volume 3 or whatever it's
Mhm.
going to be. NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, all of
Oh, they're
them.
all here. They're
They're
all
they're
here.
they're all here,
Yes.
but it was because of New Kids on the Block. They came first. This is also where I learned that synchronized dancing is a lot of fun. And New Kids on the Block, they knew how to do that. If I was smart enough, I would have eventually gotten to the point where it's like, hey, before this, the Jackson 5 came first, and the Jackson 5 were significantly better than this. But
Yeah.
New Kids on the Block
Yeah.
will is my introduction into boy bands, into like modern pop music as well. Not like Michael Jackson, King of Pop thing, but this to me is like radio pop. Yeah. So there's
So,
that.
okay. A couple of things. I looked up dates. This is out in 1988,
Yeah.
right? So you're very young when this is out. So this is influenced by your sister and New Kids on the Block were around for several years. So you grew up with it.
Yeah.
Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction comes out in 1987. So I'm down that path. And so me and my friends, we hated this stuff. Absolutely hated. Didn't want to have anything to do with it. But I will say this though. You bring up the Jackson 5. Sure there was the Jackson 5, but that was like a family band.
Sure.
And then there's the Temptations and there's the Four Tops and there's Earth, Wind, and Fire. But these guys did the teen heartthrob
Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
that nobody else had done. And as much as my friends and I did not care for it, you can't deny that they crushed it.
Yes, they did.
Like they created their own slice of the entertainment sector, which is not easy to do by being, hot young teenage guys who sing really, really well and dance well together. So, as we've talked about a couple of times together, it's not just about music, it's about entertainment, but they also had this extra special look thing that attracted a much more attractive crowd coming to see their concerts than I've ever had in my life.
Fair. Okay.
Give
So
them their due. They did
yeah,
it right. Give them their
they
due.
they get they get the roses for
Yep.
that. The next song on this is another sister influence, which it slides in very nicely with New Kids on the Block because another another big musical influence for my sister and I was the Modern Mickey Mouse Club. MMC as
Okay.
it was called. This was back in the day when the Disney Channel was a premium channel, so like anytime that you got a chance to get like one of those free Disney Channel previews, you taped the ever-loving shit out of
Okay.
everything that
Okay.
came out for the Mickey Mouse Club.
They pumped out the stars too.
They
They really
did.
did.
They did because Britney was there, Justin was there,
Christina.
Christina Aguilera was there, even some people who didn't become singers but were still famous there, like Ryan Gosling was part of the Mickey Mouse Club.
Okay.
He was supposed to be part of NSYNC and then decided to act instead, which I think was the right call. But
Hmm.
Ryan Gosling can sing, as he showed in
Yeah. L.A.
Barbie.
Well,
Oh,
L.A.
La La Land.
Yeah. La La Land. Yeah.
It's funny. You go with La La Land, a legit movie, and I go with I'm Just Ken. Yeah.
My wife would tell you that Barbie is a very, very good movie, and she's upset with me that I haven't seen it yet.
Barbie is a very
It's
good
legit.
movie.
It's
Yeah,
legit.
it's very good. So when the local Target around us opened, one of the things that they did was they had the Mickey Mouse Club, some of their members go around and sign autographs, and we went. We got the Mickey Mouse Club CD back when you could actually buy CDs at
Okay. All
Target.
right.
And one of the songs on this list is called "Hanging On for Dear Life." She was an old member of the Mickey Mouse Club. This is not the version that was on the original album. This is just like the adult version of it, but I had to add it on here because this song, it just reminds me of those Mickey Mouse Club days.
That's
And
cool.
this is a song also where if I'm having a shit day, this is one where I will put on and I will be like, the fuck's wrong with me? Like, but I still love it nonetheless. The last one, I remember my sister having the CD single for Nikki French's Total Eclipse of the Heart.
Okay.
So think the original version of Total Eclipse of the Heart, the
Yep.
Bonnie Tyler
Got it.
version, the slow version of it. And then think of the techno remix of it, and that is the Nikki French version.
Okay.
Uh, I have a feeling that you may have at some point heard it, but just imagine that they turn Total Eclipse of the Heart into a club song. And
Hmm.
that is what this
Got
version
it.
is.
I think I have it.
So this came up recently for two reasons. One, I added this song to a lot of songs from the 90s like this and called it 90s roller rink because that is what these songs remind me of. Just
Okay.
going to the roller rink with my sister and listening to these songs. This also came up because there's a TV show miniseries on Hulu, Pam and Tommy, which is about Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee and their relationship or whatever. And this song came on, and Tim, I'm not gonna lie, I cried a little bit because I was like, I haven't
Oh,
heard this song in
okay.
forever.
Okay.
But it was just an encapsulation of like the 90s and like the era. And I was like, I was not expecting this, but I'm all here for it. And it also reminds me of CD singles, where you're like, you don't want to listen, you don't want to buy the whole album. You just
Uh-huh.
spend $2 on the CD single and just call it a day. Yeah.
I don't remember that being a thing. I had moved on, I think,
Well,
of
yeah,
CD buying.
cassette singles
Oh
were
yeah.
still a thing at
Yeah.
the time, but then CD singles came out, and then eventually MP3s just wiped out physical media when it comes to music, and then there's that.
So this is I'm loving hearing these stories, and I'm looking forward to doing volume two. I listened to these cold. You gave me a list, and I listened to them cold, and I thought to myself, what the hell is going on in Mike's head? But it's really fun to hear the reason behind all of them as we're going.
Yeah. Same with you. You've a lot of these make sense. There's a couple at the bottom that I'm very curious about, but we'll get to those.
Yeah.
So your next group or your next song,
Mhm.
however you want to group them up.
Yeah, I'll just go with the next one. I go to the Beastie Boys and No Sleep Till Brooklyn, and I went back and forth between this and you gotta fight for your right to party. Beastie Boys comes out. I had been listening to what we were just calling rap at the time. Hip hop wasn't really a term yet.
Yeah.
And I liked it. I was a break dancer in like late middle school, junior high school.
So
I enjoyed doing.
you're giving me shit for line dancing, and
Dude, I'm telling you, I could do all the
here you are
spinning stuff.
breaking out
Oh
break
man, the
dancing.
helicopter, I could do a pinwheel right now if you want. No, I can't. I can't do that shit anymore. But loved it, loved the music, loved the movement of rap music. Really enjoyed it because it was so different and it was rebellious.
Yeah,
That was the thing. It wasn't rock and roll, but it was rock and roll ish because it was rebellious. We're going to talk about Run DMC in a little while, and that's part of it. Beastie Boys puts this album out, and it's white dudes, and
it's true.
they I don't know what they did. Did they take advantage of the fact that they were white dudes and they were infringing on what was pretty much an African American genre? Were they crossovers, or was their musicianship that good when they came out with this album? I don't know. But as a young teenager, I absolutely loved it. I was like, this. I need this in my life right now. And so going back to those friends that I had at this campground where we had listened to 1999 when we were super young and it was just something's new and we're just, like dancing together where we hadn't really figured out that boys and girls at dances and turned into complicated relationship stuff. Well, now we're teenagers and we have a rebellious anthem
Mhm.
kind of band. And so I listened to this album front to back over and over to the point where younger people won't get this. The ink on your cassette tape was gone. The CD had it didn't have like scratches from an incident, it had scratches from overuse, and all of the paint on ink on the CD was gone. You just put it in and you listen to it and you knew what was coming up next.
Mhm.
So No Sleep Till Brooklyn was anthemic, badass, and just made me feel good about like young independence stuff.
Mhm.
I'm no longer completely under the fingernails of my parents. I can go out and I can be rowdy, and this was the anthem for that. No Sleep Till Brooklyn.
Around so Beastie Boys, I was introduced to the Beastie Boys thanks to MTV, naturally,
Mm-hmm.
because the music video "Sabotage" was like
Oh,
a
Sabotage is
huge
one of the best
was
songs.
was a
Oh my God.
huge deal, and I have a soft spot,
Shot
even
by
though
Spike Lee. I think shot by
yeah,
Spike Lee, that
I
video.
think so. Yeah. I have a soft spot for the song Intergalactic by the
Yeah.
Beastie Boys because of the music video for that as well. As Intergalactic became like a song that I incorporated into my life a little bit more, I went back and I listened to some other Beastie Boys stuff, and I get exactly what you're saying because that's something that I don't know, you don't realize how innovative and revolutionary music is until like you look back at it sometimes and you're like, huh, I was listening to something that was like truly unique and one of a kind.
Yeah.
And yeah. So No Sleep Till Brooklyn, I love that song. It's great.
Mm.
I can incorporate that into one section coming up soon because we'll get to that. But
Okay.
my next song, this is so I'll Be by Edwin McCain. Now,
Oh, yeah. This one's
um
kind of floating out there in your list.
it
It
is
doesn't
it
have a
is
buddy.
it
It's by
is gonna be by itself. So this is a sister adjacent song. So my sister for a birthday in the 90s, I can't remember when, she specifically asked for this whole CD just for this one song.
okay.
And this was the last time I got her a CD just for one song because then she listened to this on repeat and this song blew up and it became really big on the radio.
Yeah.
So I have my sister to thank for my appreciation for this ridiculous bullshit song. But I also, this is where I developed my love for sappy love songs as well.
Hmm.
It's a shame because there's lots of great sappy love songs in the 80s that I wish that I had discovered first, but this is the first one. And I mentioned the Friday night alternative songs. So you mentioned how Prince's 1999 is a song that you remember dancing with a group of friends. This is the first song that I ever slow danced with a girl to. And
Hey. Oh, now
and
we're getting somewhere.
yeah, yeah. This was sixth grade me. I've got game. I know I know the lyrics to this song because there were three songs that were like big slow songs in sixth grade early on for these Friday night alternatives. And sixth grade is a horrendous year for development for boys because
Absolutely.
that's puberty. That's like when puberty starts. That's when, in middle school where the pressure to be cool starts
Hmm.
to ramp up a little bit. So
And you're about 6 years behind the girls maturity wise.
at least, at
Right.
least.
Like you're an idiot.
Yeah. Oh, I mean,
You're trying not to be an
yes,
idiot, but you're an idiot.
yes, straight
Yeah.
up. Very much so. So I picked this one because it was the first, but then I hard cuts for this that I considered for this particular one. All My Life by Casey and JoJo. That was
Yeah,
that was a big one
that's a great
for
song. Yeah.
uh, and it would have been one that I would have included in an R&B block for this particular time, but we'll get to that with volume two.
Yep.
And another
Yep.
one that I remember the first time that a girl asked me to dance was for a song called I Will Come to You by Hanson. a slow song. This is post bop, and this like I will always remember that as like, oh, a girl wanted to dance with me. I didn't have to go up to a girl and be
Uh-huh.
like, will you dance with
Uh-huh.
me? But this was like the beginning parts of like I'm venturing out on my own and trying to discover music and it having social significance as well. So that's
I love that story.
it's hanging out there. Yeah, it is a little weird. It is hanging out there, but I wanted to include that because it's a good transition point because it's sister adjacent, but it also has some middle school in them as well.
Let me go back to John Cusack and High Fidelity and autobiographical. I think we nailed it. I'm enjoying this. We're getting to know each other on a level that we didn't before, whether
Mhm.
we want to or not.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm going to confess something. I've never been like, I've never had I'll Be on one of my playlists. You know, like I've never
I
put it
mean,
on a playlist. I've never bought a
it's
CD.
it's a ridiculous song.
But it was, you're right, it was everywhere, right? So on our last album, we have a love song that's a duet. We have a girl that would show up and sing with us on stage every now and then. We had several songs with her, but we only had one original song. And I'm gonna read to you a line that I wrote for that song.
Okay.
I'm the greatest fan of the things that you do. And then the next line in that song is I'm in love with us, I'm in love with you. But I guarantee you that I'm the greatest fan of the things that you do
Is
came
from
from me
that song.
remembering this song, I'll be the greatest fan of your life.
Yeah. It sounds an awful lot like it.
Yep.
And
Yep.
yeah,
It's not a straight steal, but
it's
it's a slant
adjacent.
steal.
It's
It's a
it's
slant steal.
it's adjacent. Interesting. Okay.
Others do
That's
that.
well, I'm glad that you got that off your chest. Edwin McCain, if you're listening,
We're not recording this. Are we recording this? Yeah, I thought we weren't. This is a practice.
you had me going for a second. I was like, wait, shit, am I recording this? Yes, I am recording this. So
All
we're
right.
yeah.
All right, I'm going to move on to Guns N' Roses Welcome to the Jungle is my next pick. And this is me. I am like I'm not driving yet. I'm a sophomore in high school I think when this comes out, but it doesn't really Guns N' Roses doesn't explode until I'm a junior. Welcome to the Jungle was their first video and it was on MTV and it was making noise, but Sweet Child of Mine is really what had them just explode. So I'm listening to Welcome to the Jungle this summer before I go into that junior year. I still can't drive, so I'm still hanging out at the campground with my friends. Some of them are older than me, they can drive, some of them aren't. And somebody had the tape. I had heard Welcome to the Jungle, but we listened to that whole tape in the car, leaving the campground and going to this pizza place we would go to or whatever. And I've arrived. I'm no longer my parents' anything. I am now my own individual teenager. This is the song that goes with that feeling of independence where, I mean, I'm wrong. I'm still completely dependent on my parents, but I feel like I'm independent.
Yeah.
Uh, and it coincides, that part of my life coincides with Guns N' Roses album coming out where they took over the universe of
Mhm.
rock and roll for quite some time. Not as long as they would like to, because, there was another curveball coming at him from Seattle. But
Yeah.
at the time, Guns N' Roses was huge. My feeling of independence was huge. And Welcome to the Jungle is just an amazing when it came on the radio, it didn't sound like anything else. Like everything else was kind of rock and roll and kind of glammy, Poison and Cinderella and the hairband stuff was good. I liked all of that stuff. But this was a different edge and punch to your chest that made you feel differently.
Mhm.
And so this is on the list because musically, for me at that point, hard rock took a, a change in a direction that I loved, but also coincided with me feeling like I'm no longer a boy. I
Mhm.
I am I have my own friends, I have my own job, I'm about to get my own car. I'm really starting to become my own independent human being. And I don't think anything sums up that part of my life better than Guns N' Roses Welcome to the Jungle.
I have a soft spot for Welcome to the Jungle. This is a favorite of mine to play as the first song for
Oh,
trivia.
hell yeah. It's
Great,
an
great,
opener for anything. It's a
great,
kickoff song at a football game.
great one to play. Guns N' Roses is another. I could have easily slid this into my dad block
Oh,
of
okay.
of songs. And also it's funny because Guns N' Roses specifically, so Welcome to the Jungle, actually Guns N' Roses and Welcome to the Jungle, it slots nicely with my next song, which is it's Run DMC, It's Tricky. So I really hope that this I have a feeling that I've overhyped this because it's not really that great of a story
No,
with
you
it.
can't overhype Run DMC. It's impossible.
So first of all, I love this song. Like
Yeah.
it's just one of those catchy bops. It's probably my first exposure to rap, and
Mm.
it's pretty clean rap as well. But this is also it's twofold with this because the first time I heard this song was from a movie. Is from Can't Hardly Wait. And the Can't
Oh,
Hardly
it's
Wait
tricky. Is
soundtrack,
in Can't Hardly Wait. I didn't know that.
it sure is
Okay.
special. Seth Green's character, Special K, he's playing this when he's like trying to, or when he's going through his backpack of all the stuff. And so this introduced me to the like movie soundtracks that I could discover on my own. And the Can't Hardly Wait soundtrack was like a great album for that because it had this Guns N' Roses Paradise City
Oh,
slotted
yep.
very nicely
Yep.
into that as well. But also Run it's tricky. The main reason why I put it is because this was on a video game actually, and
Really?
discovering that video games like could actually be a source for like where I get some of my musical taste. I was like, interesting. I didn't think that that was coming. It was a snowboarding game. It was called SSX Tricky, and anytime that anybody did like a really cool trick, there would be it just that part of the course where it's like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's tricky. Like every time I was like, yeah, I did something really cool.
You did
But
pretty
then,
good there, by the way. That was pretty good.
oh yeah, it's verbatim exactly what it sounded like. But if I'm looking back at some of the songs that are on my list, Moonlight Sonata. You had to play a clip from Moonlight Sonata to get through one of the puzzles in the first Resident Evil game.
Ooh.
La Bamba is a song is one of like it's a hard song in Guitar Hero that I remember playing.
Oh, you
Um
have another Guitar Hero song coming up. You know this.
yes.
I think that's in volume 2 for us, or the second side of this cassette tape, but
Yes.
there's another one coming.
There's quite a bit actually. Smooth Criminal. There was a
Hmm.
Michael Jackson video game called Smooth Criminal for the Sega Genesis. And Smooth Criminal, the first level was the Smooth Criminal uh,
Okay.
one. So I didn't like, I kind of backdoored my way into this being like, oh, video games have like significance in my musical taste. And I'm not even getting to other like Guitar Hero songs that I was like, holy shit, these are actually really good. Or God forbid the Tony Hawk Pro Skater songs where Power Man 5000 or Bad Religion come up. And it was like, oh, this is the first time I'm discovering this. But it's tricky is also a foray into rap, which rap doesn't become part of my musical taste until high school and college.
Mhm.
But also, this is where I discovered that like movie soundtracks that for like songs or for movies that like I watch are a significant source of where I get my musical taste from. And as you could see, the last part of this volume of list, they're all from movies. Like, yeah, they're all from movies at to some extent or another. But I wanted to specifically single out "It's Tricky" by Run DMC or the video game element, the Can't Hardly Wait element, and then
Mhm.
also the rap element as well.
Oh man, ring the bell. You're killing it right now. I got a couple of things on It's Tricky. Are you aware of the controversy and that they got sued over it for what they sampled? What song did they sample?
I don't know. What did they
It's
sample?
it's My Sharona from the Knack. You can hear clearly when they're tricky, they go da 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 da. But then in some of the verses, you can hear the verse from the My Sharona from the Knack. You can hear it. They kind of slowed it down and distorted it a little bit, but the Knack sued them, and they settled out of court. And I don't think Run DMC minds at all because they got away with it completely. Whatever they
Absolutely.
paid doesn't matter because they won that game
Yeah.
for sure. But also, how many popular songs at this point, like today, are using samples of, other music? You've got a couple of cover songs coming up in volume two that I I'd like to continue that conversation with. The other thing is, I'd like to ask, go through your list. How many of these artists have you seen live? We may have to edit some time here, but how many have you seen live?
On volume one, zero, I
Okay,
think. Volume two slash three, I've seen a couple of them live. The closest one, I think, actually, no, that's not true. I think we may have went to a New Kids on the Block concert. I could be wrong.
love that. Probably pretty young. You and your sister going? Yeah.
It would have been closer to the 90s, but yeah, that's
Okay. I bring this up because I've seen Prince a few times, Guns N' Roses a few times, and the last artist that I have, and we can talk about that later. But I saw Run DMC. They played, what is it called now? It was the Twitter Center for a while. It's out here. It wasn't in Michigan. It's out here in Chicago. It's the outdoor theater, amphitheater,
Tweeter.
the Tweeter Center. Is that what it's
Yeah.
called? Okay. It's gone through a couple of names. My wife and I went and saw Aerosmith, Kid Rock, and Run DMC there.
Ooh, that's
And that was an amazing concert.
yeah.
And it was the last live show that Run DMC did because the next day is when the guy got shot. I think the DJ, I don't remember which Run D or
Well,
C.
it was part yeah, one.
It was the
Wow.
DJ though. He got shot like the next day. So we saw the last show that Run DMC did, and because Aerosmith's there, just killing it, by the way. But they do Walk This Way together,
Yeah.
and Kid Rock comes out and he does Walk This Way with both groups, and that was something to behold. What a tremendous show! So I'm so glad you picked a Run DMC song. Love them,
Nice.
absolutely love them.
I love your next song. So go.
Yeah, this doesn't seem to go with my progression. I just went Beastie Boys and Guns N' Roses, and now I'm going to go with George Michael. I Want Your Sex. I don't have the year for this. I think it's 1987 as well that the album Faith comes out. So if that's correct, and I think it is, Guns N' Roses comes out with Appetite for Destruction the same year that George Michael comes out with Faith, and I love them both.
Mhm.
And it's almost like you're not supposed to love both of those.
No.
You're supposed to like one of them and not the other. And this is sort of like, for me, the reason I put this in here, my brother's influence was Led Zeppelin, Queen, Ted Nugent, hard rock. My sister's influence was hits, top 40. Loved listening to Casey Kasem every week, going down the top 40 and giving his weird stories about stuff.
Right.
I'd listen to him all day. It didn't
Just
make any sense, but I
such
loved it.
obscure things that he knew about all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So George Michael's Faith comes out and I loved it. I
Mhm.
absolutely loved the first song that came out was Faith. And he's got the video. He's playing an acoustic guitar by a jukebox pretty much the whole time with some faded jeans, ripped jeans. And then this song, such a controversial PR nightmare. And for George Michael, he could care less that it's a PR nightmare. He's like, that's my song. I'm sticking to it. I am not backing down, and I love that about him.
Yep.
So that's more rock and roll than anything else that's on this album. Madonna is doing her thing at the time where she's pushing envelopes left and right with selling sex
Mhm.
in entertainment and music, and George Michael does the same thing. And this was such a big deal. Like on the radio at the time, he would say, I want your love, because the line is, I want your sex, I want your love. That's the line in the song. But the radio edit was, I want your love, I want your love. And it wouldn't let him say it on the radio. The video is incredible. But let's just talk about George Michael's ability to sing for a second. This stuff is amazing and should just be remembered as being an artist at his absolute best. And the long edit of this song where horns come in, the arrangement of this song overall, I on a whim I listened to this a couple of months ago. I'm in my car just like tired of the regular playlist and I go, "You know what I haven't heard in a while?" I don't know why this came up. Maybe Faith was on the radio or whatever, but I was like, I want to listen to I Want Your Sex again. And it gets to that second part where the horns come in. And still in 2025, listening to that song arranged in 1987, it's still impressive through the speakers in your car.
Yeah.
Great song, great artist, great moment in time for his career, and just a really fun song.
So I love this song. I love
Mm.
George Michael. Growing up, George Michael, whenever he came on the radio, my mom would turn it off because, or
Really?
switch, just didn't think it was appropriate. So
Oh, it
naturally,
wasn't.
it wasn't. So naturally, as a kid, when your parents say that something isn't appropriate, what's the first instinct that you have at that point? You're
You go
gonna
turn on
listen
Wango
to
Tango in the bedroom and you listen to it loud enough so you can hear it, but not loud enough so they can hear
exactly. So that is what happened. It just made me want to listen to it more.
it.
And
Hmm.
George Michael is also one of those, he just the entertainment value of that. The guy knew how to move, the guy knew and he knew exactly what he was doing as well. And
Oh,
just the style as well, like the punky style, but also just very British and very late 80s, early 90s. George Michael was just great.
yep.
That's a great pick. So we're I've got four songs left, and this is my movie block that I have. But I'll start with these first two, which I have "That Thing You Do"
Oh
by
yeah.
the
Yeah.
Oneaters or
The
the
Oneaters.
Oneaters.
Absolutely.
It's such a simple song, but I don't know, it's just such a bop, and it just reminds me so much of like some of these older songs that are quite frankly on both of our lists. And
Hmm.
I don't know, just like I will, to me, like the first time that I saw That Thing You Do was like, oh, this is such a good movie, but also just the joy that they have when they hear their song on the radio. Like,
Yeah.
it's just one of my favorite movie moments ever. And then Till I Hear It From You, it's by the Gin Blossoms, quintessential 90s band.
Sure.
The Gin Blossoms, but
Sure.
it's from the movie Empire Records, and kind of similar
Oh.
to Can't Hardly Wait. That had a pretty great soundtrack as well. Uh,
Yeah.
lots of great ones, but the Gin Blossoms was. I heard this song and it was like a gateway because then I started looking up more Gin Blossoms songs. Like, oh, Hey Jealousy started to become big during this time as well, and then a bunch of other ones that I'm like, okay, I think I'm a legit fan of this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was like one of the first times I discovered, oh, I can actually, if I hear something, I can, and if I like it, I'm not just confined to this one song. I can go out and seek more of their stuff. So yeah, just movies is just a huge part of, like, we're in a movie club together, so you
Hmm.
understand full well that music is just it could be a huge part of what makes a movie so significant and so special.
For sure.
So yeah, not a whole lot else to say about that. Because I honestly want to get to your next song because
Okay.
Al B is my outlier. This is kind of yours. And I've been looking at this song all night and be like, where is this going? Because, first of all, I love this song. I
Yep.
love it. I'll let you go ahead and the floor is yours, good sir.
I'm watching, I think, the American Music Awards back in the day. It was definitely an awards ceremony. I don't think it was the Grammys. I think it was the American Music Awards, and Aerosmith was on. And I'm a big Aerosmith fan. I don't have them on this list, but that doesn't mean I wasn't listening to them. And I see that they're going to be on, and they're doing Sweet Emotion. And this long-haired, weird-looking dude comes out, and where there's normally a solo or Sweet Emotion, he starts at a DJ table mixing records, and
Mm.
that's the solo. And then he comes out and he starts singing, and I'm like, why is this? This isn't a guy in Aerosmith. What's going on here? And this was Kid Rock's coming out party. That awards show was Kid Rock announcing himself. I'm on the stage now, and he's from the Detroit area. So, and that's however you want to pronounce Bow to Wada Waba. He does that song after Aerosmith does Sweet Emotion with him on the stage, and I was like, what is this? Rock rap wasn't a thing, or if it was, it wasn't a big thing. And he showed up on that stage that day and announced himself as a force to be reckoned with. And for the next year and a half, he's everywhere. And so I, especially at this point in my life, this comes out in 1998. That's the year I moved. I moved
Hmm.
from Michigan to Illinois to start my career. And I met my wife, and like the second half of my life starts. This is the last music I was vibing to really hard right before I left. And out of that whole album, which there's a bunch of really good songs on that album, the rest of his albums are, there's some good stuff, there's hit or miss, and then all of a sudden he stops what he's doing and he becomes a weird folk artist. And even some of that stuff's I think is pretty good. But this album, start to finish, has tons of really good songs on it. And my favorite one is Cowboy. So I put Cowboy on there. It holds up. You can listen to it now, and it's just as cool as it was before. The impressive thing is that that day, that award ceremony, which has been documented as a big moment in his career, he was just him. He was
Yeah.
on stage with Aerosmith, and then he came out and he did his song. But on that album, the band is just as cool as he is. Like
Hmm.
the band has always been very cool behind Kid Rock, and his personality is very weird and way out there and whatever. There was a point in time where Kid Rock absolutely was kicking ass, and it's right before I leave my home state and move to Illinois. So I finished my list here today with Cowboy from Kid Rock, and I stand by it no matter who doesn't like him, that this is an outstanding song.
So I love that story. It's very sentimental. Tim, that's not the song that I was talking about. I was talking about Tyrone by Erica Badu.
Son of a bitch. Damn it. Well, we'll do some editing.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. But because
Ugh.
I look at all these songs on your list
Yep.
and I'm like, okay, I could see a little bit of a trend here. And this is the one where it's like, huh, what are you doing here?
Well, I'll
In
take
like
it.
in a good way. So that Kid Rock story is really, really great. I do like that because at some point I was like, I feel like a lot of people were Kid Rock fans. And
Mm,
Cowboy was it was his second song out off that album, right after Ball with the Bob, but then right before Only God Knows, where it's
mm-hmm.
like, oh, this guy actually,
Some range.
yeah, he's got some range and got some ability. Before you get into the Erica Badu song,
Hmm.
I'll just finish off my list because I've got two songs
Okay.
left. It's Disney. It's the Disney portion
Oh, yeah,
of
yeah.
my list. So I have a whole new world because Aladdin was the first Disney song that or Disney movie where I was like, oh, like they make Disney movies for like me, for boys. Like,
Mm,
oh, that's awesome.
mm,
So I have a special place in my heart for Aladdin because it also came out the same year that the Mighty Ducks came out. So there's a lot of double features with the Mighty Ducks and also with Aladdin. So I like that. And then also my last song on the list, a Goofy movie turns 30 this year. And a Goofy movie is
uh,
among one of the most underrated Disney movies out there. And among one of the reasons why it's underrated is it's got a bitchin' soundtrack. And specifically Powerline as an artist voiced by Tevin Campbell puts out this song called Eye to Eye that I just adore. I
mhm.
love this song. I love what this part represents in the whole movie. And when I was in high school for a church talent show contest, me and my friends, we had a tradition where we would dress up as Ninja Turtles and perform songs. The first year we
As
did, yeah, obviously.
you do.
The first year we did Ninja Rap, obviously. The second year we did probably not the most appropriate song to do, but we did Morris Day and the Times Jungle Love
Oh, yes, absolutely.
as obviously what one should do. And then the third year we did a lot of my friends had graduated from that
Mhm.
time, but the third year it was me and a bunch of other people. We did Eye to Eye, and I
Nice.
tried to do the perfect cast in a Ninja Turtles costume, and it was shockingly hard. Yeah. So
That's outstanding. In the 90s, I had turned 22. So let's see, that's 92 or 93 or something like that. There was a girl that I was dating for a short time, and I asked what she wanted to do on a Saturday or whatever. She wanted to stay in, lay around, and watch a Goofy movie, which I had never seen, had no intention of seeing. But she was like, "This is a great movie," and we snuggled it up and watched a Goofy movie, and I was blown away with how entertaining that movie is. And also, you see the Prince connection here in
For
this
sure.
with not only Tevin Campbell, but Rosie Gaines is singing on this song as well. And Rosie Gaines is she's the singer on Diamonds and Pearls
Yeah.
and a whole bunch of Prince songs. So
This there Do you ever watch the show Atlanta?
no,
So Atlanta, it's Donald Glover's show, so very rap centric. They sometimes would have these one-off episodes where they would talk about just random stuff when it comes to Black culture.
mm.
And one of their episodes in their final season, they did a whole episode about a Goofy movie and how it is the blackest Disney movie out there. And I was like, I don't know where this is going, but
yeah,
I'm here for it. And
yeah,
they made their argument, and I was like, huh, okay,
yeah.
I buy it. Okay, that's fine. But they talked about the music and how it's so R&B influenced, and not any Disney movies are very R&B centric when it came to their music. So
There's a couple, but you're right. That's not the norm for them.
yeah,
That's for sure.
definitely not the norm, especially in the 90s.
Yeah.
So a Goofy movie. Plus, also you mentioned that you were dating somebody and they wanted to watch a Disney movie. My go-to like second or third date
Hmm.
was a Disney movie,
Nice.
and the reason why, because it's unexpected when it comes
Hmm.
to a movie, invites a lot of questions about childhood. And
Hmm.
also, there is a bit of a charm and a bit of a, was not expecting that. But okay, I'll play ball
Yeah.
quality
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah. Solid move.
Yeah.
That's a solid move. Okay, well, let's make a nice, easy transition into my last song, which is not my last song, but I'll talk about it anyway. Right around the same time in the 90s. Now, if we go through my list here, I have stopped at George Michael, I Want Your Sex in 1987, and I'm
Mhm.
jumping all the way to 1997. So I'm
It's a pretty
college
big
years.
gap.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of music in there, but nothing that really sort of I remember sort of what's the word I'm looking for, that the time and the experiences of life melding with the song. I
Mhm.
don't have any of those in that part of, but I listened to a lot of R&B. At that point, I was listening to Jodeci. We mentioned Jodeci earlier. All My Life was out, and Erica Badu comes out, and I've talked to my wife about this. She doesn't remember ever hearing the song Tyrone before. And
Such a
it was on
banger.
the radio everywhere in Detroit. And I was working a couple of jobs in college, but one of them was I was a bank teller. Love this job. This is in a pretty busy area on the Dearborn Detroit border. So I'm behind bulletproof glass in a bank. And so frequently I work the drive-through part of the bank where you got the tubes, that flow. And
Nice.
I was behind tinted windows there. I guess if you're doing a drive-by, you don't know what you're shooting at. So since people couldn't see me, I really enjoyed being very sarcastic with them and telling them, like, "Hey, I'm sorry I can't cash your check. We're out of money today." I know, yeah, it's weird. We're a bank, but we don't have any money. Like I would do stuff like that all the time. And
None of this is shocking to me at
right, right,
all.
right. And I'm not sure the bank manager was happy with it, but the customers giggled a lot, and so they're like, whatever. I don't care. Well, anyway, most of the people I worked with in this bank, there was a pretty good diverse group, and I was loving listening to R&B. So when we had time where we could put radio on, it was always R&B stuff.
Mhm.
And this is very shortly before I moved. This song was on over and over. Tyrone from Erica Badu. Had you heard the song before?
I have, yeah.
It is
I love
such
this song.
a female empowering. I've had enough of your shit. It's time for you to pack up what little shit you have and get the fuck out of my house. And she does it in such a graceful goddess way that I loved it. My coworkers loved it. There's no other word for this. We were jamming to this song all the time. And
Mhm.
I think very fondly of my last couple of years in Michigan, maybe even my last couple of months in Michigan before I moved out here, because of the little side jobs and the friends that I had that I worked with there. and the connections that we had. And one of them was this song, "You Better Call Tyrone" from Erica Badu.
This was a big MTV song at the time, and
Okay.
I just remember whenever this music video came on was like, I really hope that she makes it, you
Yeah.
know. And unfortunately she doesn't because
Yeah.
she's
Kind of did and kind of didn't. Right.
yeah, there was a hot minute in the late 90s, early 2000s where Erica Badu was a thing.
Yeah.
And then like so many in the music industry, then she's not all of a sudden. And
Right.
that sucks because you can't deny that there's immense talent there and just there's so this is going to sound a little pandering, but I think you'll understand that there's just so much soul in her voice.
100%.
Very very much so.
When the
And
ballsy thing about this track is it's live.
yeah.
Like she recorded this song. She didn't never did it in a studio. She just went live in front of everybody, and it kind of is what makes it work because people are hearing the line for the first time and laughing along with it, and then clapping and singing along with it, which is
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah. It's funny because hearing some of the stuff for you with these songs is starting to unlock some of the things is like did I forget to add a couple songs or like
Mm,
how the people I worked with influenced some of like particularly in when I was younger. Like I'm not sitting around and listening to music with people that I work remote with now.
yeah.
But like when you had those like retail jobs or those like when there was a job and not a career type
Hmm.
of things. Like you mentioned being a paper boy or like delivering papers. I was a paper boy for a while, and there would
Hmm.
be a group of songs that I would listen to on my Discman when I delivered papers in middle school. So you've unlocked something there that I
Hmm.
may need to reevaluate. Plus, also, I know for my next volume I need to have a heavier R&B influence because I do there's a lot of R&B stuff that I know I'm missing on my list. So comforting so thank you. You've given me more to
Yeah.
think about and
I
for
like it.
me to add into my, already god awfully long
You have some
playlist.
editing to do.
I
You
I
have a lot of
do. I
editing
do.
to do.
So Tim, last question I have for you before I let you go. If this album was an actual CD, what's the album cover gonna be?
I wrote down three different titles while we were talking, and I'm gonna stick with this one. Life Glue. It would be Life Glue,
Okay.
because as I'm going through memories, which are real emotional ties about how I grew up, these songs are glued to those memories. So I'm gonna go Life Glue.
Okay. Very nice. I think for me, I can't, I'm taking a look at all of these and I don't, and the thing that kind of stands out the most to me would be the invisible touch piece.
Mm,
So if I do come up with an album title for this, it's probably going to be something along the lines of invisible something on
hmm.
here. So, and for the cover, actually, I've got a picture of something that I would put on the album cover. I know this isn't very good for an audio podcast, but
Hmm.
it's Michael Jordan's last shot in a Chicago Bulls uniform that won his sixth championship.
Yeah, that has
Um,
nothing to do with anything we talked about whatsoever, but I see why you're doing it, and I'd love to mute you right now, but I can't.
you can't. So you, to quote one of my favorite movies, Labyrinth, you have no power over me right now.
I do not. I do
So,
not.
well, Tim, thank you very much for volume one of this. I hope to continue this conversation sooner rather than later. So I appreciate the stories. I appreciate the just getting to know you a little bit as a musician. I've gotten to know you as a movie fan. I've gotten to know you
Hmm.
as Wilden's former teacher, and now I've gotten to
Hmm.
know you a little bit as a friend. So, Tim, do you have anything you want to plug? Like any shows that you want to plug? Knowing that this comes out probably not next week, but the week after. And if people want to find you, where can they find you?
Yeah, sure. I mean, our good friend, our dear friend Mike Wilden and I, he was, as you mentioned, my former student. We wrote a 23 episode blog and podcast called 15 Years Later. So if anybody found interested in that, you could find us at 15-years-later.com. That's a numerical 1 5 with hyphens, 15-years-later.com. The band, all of our gigs coming up, all of our music can be found through our website. That is at thebearhambones.com. Once again, that's BARE. So the Bear Hambones.com. And then, of course, Hilty and I do this every week and give each other as much shit as we can talking about movies. We are the BTB Movie Club, which can be found on the SPDM Crew Podcasting Network.
Yep. So I will make sure to include all of those in the episode notes as
Mhm.
well. So check out the Bear Ham Bones. Check out the BTB Movie Club. Check out everything that Tim does. Tim, greatly appreciate it, and looking
This was
forward
fun.
to more coming up soon.
Yeah, let's do it again. This was a great time. Thanks, Hilty.
Well, my friends, the time has come to end this episode of Mix CD. Be sure to like, rate, and subscribe to anything and everything SPDM Crew wherever you get your podcast. Join us on social media on Facebook, Instagram, X, Threads, YouTube, and Blue Sky at SPDM Crew. Check out our website soon to be out at spdmcrew.com. You could follow our playlist on Spotify and Apple Music at Mike Hilty. Shout out to HiFlyer Creative Studios for making our awesome logo. Greatly appreciate their support. And if you have any marketing, logo, or brand standard needs, contact them at highflyercreative.com. If you've got a podcast idea or you're interested in being part of the SPDM crew as a guest or collaborating, email us at spdmcrew@gmail.com. Until next time, no matter what happens now, you shouldn't be afraid because I know today has been the most perfect day I've ever seen.